Wes Anderson has entered a new meta phase of his career, a phase where he's commenting on the creation of art, how art imitates life, and the legacy that art creates. With his new films, he's less interested in the heart of developing characters and more interested in this meta-modernist perspective on art, and which has caused many moviegoers to lose interest. For context, I'd recommend viewing this video by Carsten Runquist, which I will be quoting throughout, as well as this Vanity Fair video, where Wes Anderson talks in depth about all his favorite movies. Required reading for this video will be the French Dispatch publication that came with my movie ticket, which was a real treat, and the French Dispatch screenplay. In this publication, Anderson states that the French Dispatch drew direct inspiration from The New Yorker. It also has a list of films that inspired the film's creation. The French Dispatch is a masterclass in metamodernism, but nowhere is this more apparent than the scene where Jeffrey Wright speaks directly to the camera.
No one at all. But always, somewhere along the avenue or the boulevard, there was a table set for me. A cook, a waiter, a bottle, a glass, a fire. I chose this life. It is the solitary feast that has been very much like a comrade, my great comfort and fortification.
This feeling of loneliness, but also this special feeling of belonging, forming a paradox in this character's mind. The table set for him is almost a surreal line. It brings to mind life's impossibility, the coincidences that could only be the work of some higher power. It also brings to mind the idea that life and also art, which function in this film as one and the same, always has a way of giving something to us that we can relate to. For me, it's comic books, poetry, and film. It always prepares us a meal for us to consume that we can wrestle with in our minds, a form of representation, but not in this progressive sense, but in the human and individual sense. This is why the film is about the New Yorker and journalism. I would recommend reading The Marvels and Chasing Hope if you want to understand journalism more on a human level. They are stories about human lives, and it's Wes's way of saying there was always a story for him in the New Yorker. The technicality of this film is also on display, with the change in aspect ratios, the change in noir and color, which seems to almost happen at random, which is contrary to his later work. This seems to be the film where he first begins to play around with this technicality. Asteroid City takes metamodernism a step further. It brings to light the awards that these scientists win, akin to the award season for films. I can't help but think this is him acting as some sort of award giver, as he's awarding young filmmakers from his state of understanding so much about the medium. It goes without saying he's ushering in a new generation of filmmakers who can further break the rules, much like Wes Anderson is doing in this film. Once again, he's contrasting color and noir, but conventionally within the confines of the story, or the story within the story, where the making of the play is in black and white and the actual actions of the play are in color. It's like he took what he learned from working with color in the French Dispatch and wrapping it more cohesively into the story. Nowhere is this metamodernism best on display, though, than the scene with Jason Schwartzman's character asking Adrian Brody,
"Are you on?"
Technically, but General Gibson just started the scene where the president doesn't accept his resignation. I've got 6.5 minutes before my next line. I need an answer to a question I want to ask.
Okay.
Am I doing him right?
Oh. Well, I told you before, there's too much business with the pipe, with the lighter, with the camera, with the eyebrow, but aside from that, on the whole, in answer to your question, it's enough. You're doing him just right. In fact, in my opinion, you didn't just become Augie. He became you.
I feel lost.
Good.
He's such a wounded guy. I feel like my heart is getting broken, my own personal heart, every night.
Good.
Do I just keep doing it?
Yes.
Without knowing anything?
Yes.
Isn't there supposed to be some kind of an answer out there in the cosmic wilderness? Woodrow's line about the meaning of life.
Maybe there is one.
Right. Well, that's my question. I still don't understand the play.
Doesn't matter. Just keep telling the story.
This scene is about life imitating art, in that some of us don't really understand the point of life. It's a form of existentialism that would make even Nietzsche wonder about. In Japanese culture, the ikigai is the reason for living, and without it, people are considered lost. This is much like the play and how people don't have reason to live, but it grants some sort of magic to it. Just keep telling the story. I love when Wes Anderson gets meta, weird, and existential like this. I would call myself a true fan of what he's been working on recently. So much so that I want to talk about another scene in this film.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
What was that?
That's so quiet.
What's that mean?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
What?
That's not true.
Say it again.
Who cares?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Why should
Maybe
you?
not.
Yes.
You can't wake up
if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
In many ways, it harkens back to the French Dispatch, where writing is so important to people. Writing is so important to Wes that he doesn't sleep, and you can tell from the screenplays his setting up of a scene and attention to detail is so grandiose that I'm sure he spent hours on end writing without much sleep. This lack of sleep could cause someone to have some sort of psychotic episode, much like the poet Holderlin did. The Phoenician scheme doesn't deal with art, but instead deals with business, or the business of art. This came at a time where Succession is superbly popular, so it raises the question, what would Succession, an episode directed by Wes Anderson, look like? And it captures that in the vastly affluent deals they are making and the private jets. That being said, the argument of the new Wes Anderson work being hard to follow is valid. Intimate details are discussed so quickly that it's easy to miss. The Phoenician scheme is like a return to form for Wes in trying to reinstate heart into his film. The final scene in the film is the daughter literally saying hearts. That's the last line. This film is an investigation of heart. It's an investigation of death and how legacy can be impacted by death. I wrote this to myself as the silly basketball scene took place. Again, profound words that carry weight is a keystone in this phase of Anderson's work. The Jeffrey Wright scene, the Adrian Brody scene, and this scene where Benicio del Toro states that he has no need for human rights. Another trademark is his fascination with highly intellectual activities, a fascination with fine art like jazz, journalism, and chess. Wes gets weird and existential in this scene too, with the trial shot in black and white, which is a direct inspiration from the matter of life and death. I think of the can't wake up if you don't fall asleep part of Asteroid City when I saw this scene. This brush with death is a constant in the Phoenician scheme. Carson Runquin said,
and then we have the cover page. We're now inside of the work, specifically the work of the editor within the film, Arthur Howitzer Jr., played by Bill Murray, who, like in most of his films, can be read as a stand-in for Anderson himself.
In this film, he's playing God with these characters, brushing them with death like a puppeteer, while also being represented in Benicio del Toro's character with legacy and so on. What do you think of Wes Anderson's new phase of films? I'd be interested to know. Leave a comment, and I hope you enjoyed the video.